our next very interesting session. This is not something to do with the healthcare IT field, but something so generic and extremely important in today's time. Our next speaker is Mansi Dholakia. She's the CEO of Global Mental Health Association. She's a psychology counselor, a pharmacologist, and an author. Mansi is a London-based counselor, a pharmacologist, and a motivational speaker. She has graduated from University of Brighton and holds certificate in psychology from University of Cambridge. She's an expert speaker and a very well-known author. She's also the CEO and global ambassador of GMHA. Mansi is published as a Powerhouse Global Woman in this year's July issue of Powerhouse Global magazine. She's empathetic, simple-minded, and extremely friendly to talk to. Her simplicity and empathy for humankind is quite visible while interacting with her. She has won several accolades for her work in the mental health domain and earned a stellar reputation for counseling teenagers, adults, and families. Her problem-solving skills are par excellence, and her compassion for your spirit raises the bar for others. She's extremely polite, understands the gravity of your situation, and will guide you towards living a meaningful life. Her personal tryst with anxiety and depression has helped her understand the issues very closely, and now she has devoted her life to helping others and deal with this. No one should suffer in silence. That is her motto. So we now welcome Mansi. Mansi, thank you so much for taking the time out today. And I will pass on the screen to you to speak on mental well-being is a priority, not an option.
Thank you so much, Rashmi, for that stellar introduction. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Mansi, very clearly. My apologies for the delay.
No, that's fine. Just going to stop my video. Okay. Hi, everyone. Right. So as Rashmi has rightly introduced me, I'm just going to further, introduce myself a little bit. But firstly, thank you, Rashmi, and the organizers of Global Virtual Healthcare Summit 2020. You guys have done a very commendable job bringing together such a stellar speaker lineup. And thank you for inviting me here. I'm Mansi Dholakia. I'm an author, a pharmacologist, a counseling psychologist, and an international speaker. I have lived my life in London for the past 15 years and have recently moved back to India last year in 2019. Currently, I'm based in New Delhi. To begin this session, firstly, the topic of the day is mental health is a priority and not an option. Before we dive into, the mental wellness and well-being and why is it necessary to look after yourself, I would like to further introduce about myself a little bit and my personal tryst with anxiety and depression. The thing is that what life teaches you, no books or no universities or, no matter like what experience teaches you, there is no alternative to that. So having said that, I used to be a very vivacious and talkative, outgoing, and I had this very friendly personality since childhood. So 10 years ago, suddenly when anxiety hit me, I just did not know that, what to do. And it was a very, very difficult time. And it took a long time to get over it as well. And after that, I decided to, form this Global Mental Health Association, which I just established this year in 2020. The organization works towards mental wellness directives around the world. It is formed in USA. I have directors from around the world working hard to, destigmatize mental health. Because I think in our societies, everywhere around the world, mental health carries a huge stigma. If somebody wants to approach a doctor, approach a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a counselor, family, friends, etc., the support is very little. Because firstly, people start thinking that, oh, if you're sad, it's okay. I mean, it will go away. Everything that you're feeling emotionally, it will just go away. Which is a very wrong concept, actually, because, each of us are wired differently and we deal with emotions in a very different way. So firstly, I would like to suggest that if anybody is experiencing, hard times or going through difficult situation, and if you're not able to deal with it, seek help. Go see a counselor, go see a therapist. Medication is the last option. Sometimes, if you are not able to cope with your feelings and emotions, then of course a psychiatrist is going to prescribe medication depending on your situation. But I think the early signs and symptoms you catch, the earlier you treat them, it is better for you. Sometimes, as they say, prevention is better than cure, which is very rightly said so right now in the COVID times, especially since there is no medicine for it or no vaccine yet. So similarly, I think for mental health, the better you look after yourself, the worse it won't get to a point where it gets worse and you have to seek medication. I have my own website as well, which is mansi.dholakia.com. On there are a lot of motivational podcasts. There is a lot of information available on anxiety and depression, which you guys can have a look into. So let me begin with the topic for the day, which is mental health is a priority, not an option. That is incidentally the slogan for my company as well. September is a suicide awareness month. So I'm just going to start with giving you the facts and figures of where we stand among the suicidal rates of the world currently. Before COVID, every 40 seconds, we lost one person to suicide. Those were the figures. Now, COVID has compounded those figures, quadrupled or multiplied them, enormously. And we cannot even comprehend that, what is the current situation around the world. 1 in 3 people currently suffer from anxiety and depression. How many of us actually, seek help? My personal favorite quote, I'm just going to start with that what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. The courage to deal with the adversity thrown right at you, that comes from your inner core. You have to strengthen your mind and your heart. You have to learn how to use your emotions in a better way. Sometimes, there are a lot of emotional and sensitive people around the world. I'm one of those as well. And I have heard my entire life that, you're a very emotional person. It must be very hard for you to deal with, situations or circumstances thrown right at you. Let me tell you something. When you start using your emotions to become your strengths rather than your weaknesses, that is the key to success. It's very difficult to know how to do that. But, with life and experience and with help from good people around you, you learn to do that eventually. The strongest woman I know is my mother, and the wisest man I know is my father. The people around you influence you a lot. The positivity around you, influences you a lot. And that is what counts towards your, mental well-being. Talking about mental well-being has become very essential, especially since the pandemic happened. The sudden lockdown situation, people panicking, suddenly because they've lost their support system, because they have lost, friends cannot connect with each other, they can't see each other. The physical connection was completely lost. And because of that, we are in a situation where, the sudden rise in suicidal rates, in anxiety, in depression, all of that has happened. Let me start with the why. Why is mental well-being important? Why is it important to, look after your own brain? What are the benefits you can reap from understanding yourself better? Your mental fitness is directly proportional to your productivity. So think of it like this. If you don't feel good, how much of your productivity is affected? If you have an entire checklist to do during the day, how much of it can you actually achieve? So if you wake up feeling good about yourself in a positive manner, how much of your checklist can you achieve then? In order to increase productivity, it is essential to understand how the brain works. Taking care of our mental hardware is very important. It can be done by addressing basic physiological issues, like sufficient sleep, eating healthily, exercising. All of those are basic things, that we need to take care of. Overstimulated and overworked brains find it hard to switch off completely. This can lead to chronic fatigue and stress. So what happens if you just, ignore all the signs and symptoms, and if you just ignore that, your brain is feeling really tired? You need to take short breaks during the day. I think right now we are all, confined into four walls of our houses and sitting on Zoom meetings, back to back. It's very important to take breaks in between. It's important to, look after yourself, have a walk around the house, whatever you can do to, support your mental health. Another interesting fact I would like to point out is that how food affects your mood. Now, bear with me a little bit on the scientific side of it, but it's important to, impart this knowledge. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter, right? Now, most of you would have heard about serotonin. It affects your mood. Serotonin helps regulate sleep and appetite, meditate moods, and inhibit pain. Now, 95% of your serotonin production is in your GIT tract. So it makes sense that the digestive system doesn't just help you digest food, but it also helps you guide your emotions. That reminds me that, when I saw a therapist years ago for my anxiety, and she had asked me to make a food diary. Now, those were the beginning days, so I did not understand the relation. But I can share my personal experience with you guys that when I started making the food diary, like what I was eating during the day, removing the sugars, cutting down the stale food, the junk food, etc. And when you increase the fiber in your diet, it's slow releasing sugar. So all these things, definitely help towards anxiety. Why do people smoke? Why do people turn into food addicts? So they associate all of those items. For example, if I'm very stressed out, I start having chocolates. I start eating ice creams. There are a lot of people who do that. And then, the side effects are obesity happens. So it's not a good idea to relate your emotions in your brain to the food. It's important to deal with those things. You cannot just associate them with whatever factors you think are okay. And that is the wrong thing that most of people do. So relational association with food doesn't get you anywhere. Experts have advised that one of the best ways to process negativity, fear, anxiety, or stress is not through eating, but talking. Communication is the key. To cope with stress, whether it's routine stress or situational or temporary or lifestyle based. So the answer to how to cope with stress is you need to change your habits. You need to change your lifestyle. And mostly you need to change your perception and mindset. I'll speak to you guys, a little bit about counseling, that what is counseling? Since I'm a counselor. So in counseling, when a consultation happens, the first consultation happens with the client, and a person comes and says, okay, I have, this problem. I am not able to deal with my emotions, or I'm suddenly feeling very angry, or I'm suddenly feeling very sad. So counseling helps you identify your positive emotions, remove your negative emotions, and help your thought process. So, for example, if somebody is telling me that, ma'am, I am feeling very angry when I think of these thoughts. So what a counselor would do is replace those negative thoughts with positive thoughts, or at least guide the person that, whenever a thought comes into your mind, you replace it with a positive thought. You keep a diary, you write things down. So there are different methods for different clients. It also depends on, what kind of a problem it is. So it's very individualistically based. I get asked this a lot of times that, ma'am, what is the best way to reduce stress in life, because of course all of us are stressed out right now a lot of the times. I mean, especially since the pandemic happened, there's been unemployment, people are confined inside, people cannot see their loved ones, people cannot see their friends. So all of that has affected our mental well-being a lot. The most easiest thing I think for me to say would be that you need to change your mindset. I'll give you a short example. It's a short story. So there was once upon a time, there was this one girl, and she visited, she had a very mundane routine. You know, she used to get up, go to work, come back home. Now, one morning when she woke up and she was leaving for her work, so she got out of the house and she saw a hat store on the way to her work. She stopped by the hat store and she wanted to pick out a hat. She picked out a hat. She put that on and she started smiling and, you know, looking in the mirror. She thought that, you know, she looked beautiful. The store woman came and told her that, oh, you look very pretty today. So she said, she smiled and said, oh, thank you so much. And she bought the hat. As she walked out of the door, the doorman smiled at, she smiled at the doorman and the doorman smiled back at her. So the saga continued throughout the day. She went to her office, her colleagues, you know, saw her and they were all like, oh, you look very chubby today, you look very pretty today, you're very beautiful, etc. When she came back home, her mom opened the door for her and said that, darling, you look very pretty today. And she smiled and she said, oh, mom, thank you so much. It's all because of the hat. And her mother goes, what hat are you talking about? So she said that she pointed to her head, you know, put her hand over her head, but there was no hat there. She had forgotten the hat at the store. And she paid for it, obviously, but she forgot the hat at the store. Now look at the miracle of the mindset. So she started walking, you know, all day thinking that it was the hat that was creating a change in her looks. But what made her look beautiful was there was a glow on her face, there was self-confidence because she thought that she looked pretty, and it was in her attitude, walk, everywhere. So it's the mindset, you know. A lot of miracles can happen if you change your perception towards positivity, if you change your mindset. I hope that short story, you know, helps you understand what changing your perception can achieve. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. Are we in control of the circumstances, you know, surrounding us? Are we in control of the situation surrounding us? No, we are only in control of our own thoughts and emotions. So I think a little bit of take a step back, introspect, try to understand what is wrong. And the most important appeal, I think, is, you know, seek help. Seek counseling and seek help. I think counseling not only helps you remove negativity from your life, but will also help you, you know, to become a better person. And I'm not just saying this that because I'm a counselor, you can seek anybody's help, but, you know, I'm just trying to point out the importance of things. What personally helps me, I also get asked this quite a lot of times that, you know, how do you inspire yourself? What helps you overcome negativity, overcome stress in your life? I think for me, it would my go-to thing is reading. When I read, you know, historical stories about women or men, I mean, if you look back in history, you know, people used to go fight battles for their land, for their honor. And when you read all those stories, you know, it inspires the fighter in you that, you know, you only have to fight your own demons. You don't have to go out with a sword and fight wars, but you only have to fight with your own demons. And that is the least, you know, you owe it to yourself. So that is that. So I'm just going to summarize because Rashmi here is, I think, running a little bit late today. We have talked about, you know, what is mental wellness? Why is it important? How can you look after your mental wellness? If you don't look after your mental, you know, health, it's going to result in anxiety and depression. Like I've given you the facts and figures. So how can you avoid that? You can avoid that, you know, by doing X, Y, Z things. If at all you are not in control of your emotions, seek help. that is the least, you can do. To conclude, I would like to, quote a few things. This was published in the Powerhouse Global magazine as well. And I think a little repetition won't hurt. In life, there will always be challenges and opportunities. There will also be a lot of opinions surrounding you on how you should live your life. You must never ever derail yourself from your path towards achieving your goals. You must be in charge of your own journey. Make the pit stops when you like, and do not be deferred by countless opinions of others telling you what to do. This is your life, and this is your path. So trust your journey and believe in your own judgment and make your own decisions. Live and learn through your own mistakes. Life happens to all, but your faith in yourself will definitely sail you through. So that is where I conclude today. And if there are any questions, Rashmi, you can please let me know about them, and I would be happy to answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mansi. This was such an informative, personally, I think extremely important. It was for everyone to listen to. There is one question asked anonymously.
Sure.
It is about an organization. So it's actually from a friend of mine. So this friend of mine is a manager at the organization, and he takes care of a few young people under him.
Right.
And what has happened is that these people were recruited just before the lockdown happened. Okay, so they didn't get a chance. They're freshers. They didn't get a chance to come to office and work sitting in a office environment. Now,
Right.
what has happened is one of his recruits uh, suddenly called one day and said that I feel very anxious. I'm unable to work.
Right.
So my friend tried helping him out, tried speaking to him, and also took suggestions from his boss. But it didn't help. It's a big firm. I cannot name it. It's a big consulting firm.
Right.
And suggested that the partner at the firm, can make someone available. He was too shy because he's very new to the company, and he is very scared what he would be perceived as by others.
Right.
Uh, so how can my this young who's he's just begun his career and already feeling I think your suggestion is going to be extremely helpful.
Rashmi, I have had quite a few clients right now who are, struggling since the pandemic happened, since the lockdown happened. And people were completely fine before that. So people cannot comprehend that suddenly what is wrong with me, or why am I getting suddenly so anxious or nervous about new things, or, about starting new things. I'll give you a short example, which is very similar to this. And so it was one of my very good friends. I've known her for a while, and suddenly she rang me one day and she goes, Mansi, I'm just feeling so anxious that I'm not able to step out of my home. I'm not able to step out of my house at all. And if I open the door, if I'm stepping out, and the fear just is, coming onto me so bad that I just run inside my house again, close the doors, and I'm safe. It's one of those things. So it's all, it's a slow breakdown of the thought process that happens. In counseling, that is what we try and do, that we slowly break down the thoughts, and then whatever the negative thoughts are coming onto the mind, like fear, anxiety, because they are all thoughts which are irrational, which are not logical. I mean, if you step out of the house, it does not mean you are going to get the COVID. But a lot of people feel like that. I have had 2-3 counseling cases very recently in this week where I've dealt with people who keep going to different doctors. So because I'm not feeling well, so I need to see a doctor. So every day they are seeing 2 to 3 doctors. It's ridiculous, because and if a friend can see that and realize that this is a psychological problem, and it's nothing to do with your physiological problem, it's nothing to do with your physical health. So whenever I get clients, I firstly ask them, okay, have you got all your tests done? then, it's very logical to make them understand that, look at your results. There is nothing wrong with you there. There's nothing wrong in your heart. There's nothing wrong in your lungs. There's nothing wrong in the way you breathe. So, it's all in the head. So if it is in the head, then there is a way to, replace the thoughts in the head. So that is called CBT techniques, which we use in counseling, where we, cognitive behavioral therapy, it is called, where we teach the clients how to replace the negative thoughts with the positive ones and how to move ahead. So I think counseling would help, number one, to the person you're talking about, and to a lot of other people who are also, going through similar things. Please try and seek help through a therapist or a counselor, because and they don't give you medicines. We don't prescribe medicines. We are not licensed to prescribe medicines. So don't be scared that, if I go to see a doctor, they're just going to give me so many pills, etc., because there's a lot of misconception around the way the treatments work. So counseling is just, talking to you. It's just communication. And sometimes so many people feel better just after a couple of sessions because they don't have anybody to talk to. So a counselor's first job is to listen. So we sit and listen that whatever the problem is, then we analyze it, and then we help you accordingly. So I think the advice would be seek counseling.
Great. I'm sure my friend's listening. He's going to use that. We have a few more questions, Mansi.
Sure.
One question is, what does good mental health or bad mental health look like? Can you measure it?
I think it's very, very personal what good mental health means to you. For example, myself, if I talk about good mental health, to me is if I don't get any anxiety attacks during the day, if I don't feel nervous about things which don't make sense to me, if I can see people around me in a positive sense, in a positive way. So it's all about the perception and the mindset. So the mindset theory that I was talking about earlier as well, reflect on that a little bit. And there are no particular measures for good mental health or bad mental health, but it also is very independent in nature as to what you perceive it as good mental health. Standard good mental health is, eat properly, sleep properly, rest properly, and you feel good about yourself. You feel the confidence in your own self. If the self-confidence is quite a good measure to think that, where you are at and how you can measure it. So that is one way you can look at it.
Okay. Another question is the personality disorder a mental illness, and can it be treated?
Yes, personality disorder is a mental illness, like bipolar disorder. That is also a personality disorder. It is a mental illness, and yes, it is very, very treatable. So what happens in bipolar or that kind of disorder is, you feel extreme highs and extreme lows suddenly. Suddenly you'll be very happy about things. Suddenly you will be very, very low about things. So when you're going through the irrational highs and lows in life, and then you can, all the psychiatrists have, a very, very strict classification of things. So when you go to see a psychiatrist, they will make you fill so many forms and so many personality tests you will go through before you get diagnosed with whatever the condition is. So be rest assured that when you go to see a professional or a doctor, they will, take care of all of those things. Even if you think that you have personality disorder, doesn't mean that they will diagnose it as the same thing. Sometimes it might not be that. Sometimes it might just be a temporary thing and a situational thing, circumstantial thing. So, but if you do feel like that, then you should go see a doctor once, so that, you are rest assured that it is diagnosed once and for all.
Okay. We have one last question. I want to read your articles regarding mental health. Where can I get access to them?
Yes, so my website is very, very informative. I have put a lot of information on the website. I'm very much active on Facebook and LinkedIn as well, where I write articles and put articles up every day. So you can have a look at my LinkedIn or Facebook profiles. Yes, on my website, there are also free podcasts available. There are about 14 to 15 podcasts, which are all motivational podcasts of 2 to 3 minutes. So I would encourage you guys to, have a listen to that. And I forgot to mention my book. Spread Your Wings. That is the book I wrote in December 2018. It was Amazon's bestseller. And I've also put it on a free download on my website. So you will have access to that on the website as well. It's www.mansidholakia.com.
Thank you so much, Mansi. We've received amazing feedback for this session. I'm sure you helped a lot of people. Thank you so much for the time out. And
Thank you.
Yeah, happy having you speak today for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rashmi. Glad to be here and impart a little bit of knowledge about mental health. And Global Mental Health Association is working very hard to destigmatize mental health and to make sure that health reaches everyone so that it's easier. But any further questions you may have, you can just send them over to me. I'll do my best to attend to them. And thank you for having me here today.
Surely. Thank you so much.
Thanks.